This is TSN Inside Sports. The CFL kicks off its season in 3 new cities and 2 new divisions. Tonight we'll discuss the changes in the league with Commissioner Larry Smith. We'll look ahead to the season with Baltimore owner Jim Speros and last year's Grey Cup hero Danny McManus. Also TSN's Leaf Pettersen from the site of the season opener, Ottawa. Welcome to TSN Inside Sports. I'm Dave Hodge. The Canadian Football League is about to launch its 1995 season with 13 teams. Nothing superstitious, you understand, but 13 isn't the ideal number. With 8 of them based in Canada and 5 in the United States, there is a lack of balance between newly formed North and South divisions, but the CFL intends to grow larger in the South, if not in the North, and it's an easy prediction that membership won't stay at 13 very long. Of course, there are skeptics who think it might just as easily decrease if Canadian football doesn't catch on in 3 new U.S. cities, Memphis, Birmingham, and San Antonio, the latter the new home of the Sacramento Gold Miners. It wouldn't be the CFL if there weren't quarterbacks switching teams, and at the top of this year's list, there is Kent Austin going from BC to Toronto, Matt Dunnigan from Winnipeg to Birmingham, and Damon Allen from Edmonton to Memphis. And the offseason was even more eventful than usual for CFL Commissioner Larry Smith. Larry, welcome to TSN Inside Sports and, of course, to another CFL season, which we knew would happen. I'm not sure we all knew it would start in Ottawa, though. Did you have concerns? Did you think there was a time that team would not exist?
Well, Dave, obviously one of the biggest challenges we faced in the offseason was resuscitating Ottawa and getting the proper ownership in there and trying to settle down the community. And we're very thankful that Mr. Chin was the individual that we chose to work with. And so far, he and his group have done a great job and prepaying their bills, hopefully going to put a competitive team on the field and are managing the club in a professional way.
Are you concerned about how competitive the team will be?
Well, you know, everybody around the league and the media has talked about Ottawa and saying that Ottawa will end up in last place. And I think it may be a question of not necessarily knowing all of the new players that the Rough Riders have. I think one thing that was required, Dave, was Ottawa needed a shake-up. There had been a lot of guys that had been around for some years, had become accustomed to losing, and once you develop that losing attitude, it's time to go. So I think there's some excellent athletes. I think it'll take some time to gel. If they can stay healthy, I think they will be a force.
They seem to be open-minded there. They don't mind taking or making the odd joke about drafting a dead player, and there's going to be a halftime ceremony that tries to ward off the evil spirits or something like that. Are you happy for any publicity, even if it is that kind, or would you rather have the skin get a little thinner in Ottawa and everywhere else in the CFL and try to end the joke making? Well,
I'll tell you, in this particular case, it was an unfortunate incident. We had all the players' records, etc., and you know, these things hopefully don't happen too many times. I think, frankly, it's interesting. You know, obviously we don't want a lot of that type of publicity, but believe it or not, in the States, it has been quite humorous, and I don't think it's done anything to degrade us. You know, it's one of those things, David, where a lot of the Canadian media likes to pick on the CFL, so if they're having fun, then so be it.
I get the impression that the words expansion and consolidation somehow find their way into the same sentence where you're concerned. Is it time to sit back, wait and watch and see what happens before you take the next step?
Well, I think we'd love to get another team for 1996, David, so we could have 14. We have an even schedule, a balanced schedule, but clearly we would like to see what we have and make sure it works properly. And we think we have some excellent markets in the United States, but they're going to require some time.
Is Miami a good idea? Is it at the top of that list?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've been very skeptical about Miami since the inception of this idea of going there. But the more I speak to the Sports Authority, to the city, to the Chamber of Commerce, and to the Orange Bowl Committee, I mean, these people really want a CFL team. And if they can prove that they have the ability to sustain a team, we'll take a serious look. But it's very, very early, Dave.
In Baltimore, the NFL talk continues. In Toronto, the NFL talk continues. How do you react to the NFL talk?
Well, you know, in Baltimore, of course, there's been talk of NFL teams and a myriad of teams coming into that city, and God willing, that will not occur because of the number of NFL teams in the region. In Toronto, of course, we're here, they're not here, And we have, in my mind, a 2 to 3 year window to make sure that the Argos strengthen their on-field performance so we get some fans in the stands. A lot of things, Dave, have to happen before the NFL comes into town. And I think one of the interesting tests is going to be whether the Raptors can make it in this city with the cost of really doing business that they're going to occur, because as you know, the NFL is even more costly at $200 million US. That's a big tag, and no one has yet to show me that that can work economically.
Larry, the Grey Cup tradition used to be east-west. It is, as of this point forward, going to be north-south. Is that because you think east-west had outlived its usefulness?
Well, I think in honesty, Dave, as the economy works, we're going north-south now. That's been in existence since free trade came in 1988. The old east-west idea in Canada is, in my mind, gone the way of the dodo bird. And I think we have to be progressive and change. And clearly the north-south rivalry we had last year with BC and Baltimore was a big hit on the ratings. And as you know, ratings are critical to our survival.
But have the U.S. teams as a group shown enough strength to be given a Grey Cup spot, if you will? I know it's not guaranteed that that is the way it'll be, but obviously there's a strong likelihood that there will be a U.S. team in the Grey Cup most years, maybe every year, except for Baltimore. Have they shown enough strength to be put in that position?
Well, I'll tell you, I think I could argue, and a lot of people would support this argument, that not only is Baltimore a force to be reckoned with last year and this year, but the San Antonio-Sacramento group are going to be extremely strong and probably and arguably could have been one of the top 2 teams in the league by the end of last season, but unfortunately the early season losses knocked them out of the playoffs. I think Shreveport's going to be much improved, and Memphis and Birmingham will be close behind. I think you'll see some excellent parity, David, in this league, and I think it's important for us to establish those new boundaries very, very early in the game.
How about a new name for the league? Is that in the near future?
No. I think the idea that I'm working with is to take the CFL and take that logo, maybe rework the logo, and maybe consolidate our name to CFL and really focus on those 3 letters, because the NBA, NFL, NHL basically are the ideas and properties that are being marketed by these professional leagues, and we'd like to market the CFL that way.
Who's going to own the Stampeders?
Excuse me?
Who will own the Stampeders?
Well, right now, of course, Larry Rickman is hustling to try to create or do a deal with a local businessman in that particular marketplace. Of course, it's all subject to due diligence on our part. Larry tells me that he's close to completing the transaction. We're waiting to hear from him, and hopefully we'll know very shortly, David.
Do you or does the league have a preference as far as who owns that club?
Well, we have a preference, and the preference is we want to make sure whoever takes over the Stampeders has the proper financial capacity, has the love of the game in terms of wanting to keep the team in the city, and is someone we're going to get along with at the board level. So we have some fairly straightforward and strict requirements for any new ownership group.
Finally, Larry, hold the mail from Saskatchewan, please. Do you have an early weather forecast for Regina, November?
I do. As a matter of fact, it just came in about 5 minutes ago, David, because I figured you'd ask me that question. Sunny, +5 for the Grey Cup on November 19th at Taylor Field, and I hope you're all going to be watching.
Thanks, Larry. Good luck.
Thank you.
1 year ago, as an expansion team, Baltimore went all the way to the Grey Cup final before losing narrowly to the BC Lions. When we come back, we'll speak to the man who made it happen for the Lions that day, now the new starting quarterback, Danny McManus. And we'll go to Baltimore and speak with their owner, Jim Speros.
TSN Inside Sports is brought to you by Coors Light, the silver bullet. You know the right beer now. And by The Keg, where good friends get together to enjoy great steaks and share some fun.
The BC Lions will defend last year's Grey Cup championship with one of the heroes of the narrow win over Baltimore as their quarterback. That's Danny McManus. But it's not quite the same as it was last season, because then McManus had to come off the bench to perform his heroics. And this season, Kent Austin is in Toronto and McManus is #1 in BC. Danny, much is made of this. I wonder if you think it's too much, as in the perennial backup finally gets his chance to start. Do you not like to hear that?
Well, I think a lot is made of it. I did play quite a bit in the past 5 years. I've never played the first game, started the first game, so this is something new for me. But I think the experience that I've had over the 5 years and the great quarterbacks that I learned from, I guess it's time for the student to see what he can do after learning from the professors or the guys I worked through before.
The team is different. Everybody thought it would be after the Grey Cup win. How different and how good or bad do the changes make the team?
Well, I know on offense we lose 4 key players, and the guys that we have right now to fill in the spot are capable of doing the job. It's just a matter of getting them some game tests and see how they do. We lose Ray Alexander as receiver, but we pick up Robert Gordon, so he brings a little different facet to the game that Ray didn't have. We got some speed out on the outside, but what we need to have is some more consistency through our whole offense, better than we did a little bit last year.
Do you get a chance to have a different or better relationship with the starters, being one yourself, and do you look forward to that?
I'm looking forward to it. A lot of guys used to come to me for suggestions and stuff like that, and I relayed to Kent. And now it's going to be a little different to see if they still come to me or if they go to Keith or Julio for that advice. But I've told them anything that you see or anything we can take advantage, please let me know, and we'll try to do it.
Repeating a Grey Cup win isn't easy. In fact, hasn't been done by the 12 teams that won it before you. Is that sort of the focus and the challenge for you and everybody this season, to try to win another one?
Well, that's no doubt. All of us want to be in Regina near the end of November. We're just going to take it one play at a time. Hopefully, like last year, we peak at the right time, get some breaks that go our way, and we'll end up being in Regina to defend our cup.
If you're the favorites, does it bother you, or would you prefer to be the underdogs you were last year?
I don't know if being a favorite, if there's a pressure thing or anything like that. I think what we have to do as a team is we know it's an 18-game season before we get into the second season. So the first 18, let's play real good football, get in position to get into the playoffs, and then let the second season take over as it did last year. A lot of people counted us out early. I think Vegas had us 80-1 to even make it to the Grey Cup, and fortunately enough, we were able to get there and then win the game.
There seems to be a lot of talk about the future of the coach and the general manager there, as if winning it once wasn't enough. Is that any kind of a motivating factor to try to win again, not only for your own security, but maybe to get the coach the contract he thinks he deserves?
Well, I think there's no doubt the coach is a reflection of the team. If we do well, then things will happen for him. Coach Ritchie is definitely a team player. He wants us to go out there and perform the best that we can. And he told us not to worry about the situations happening upstairs. Our locker room is downstairs. We go out in the field. When it comes between the lines, the coaches can't do anything about it. It's us to play. And he just focused on that. So when you guys get out there, play hard for 60 minutes and let things take care of themselves.
How do you like the schedule? It has you opening at home against Baltimore, and your next home game happens to be against Mr. Austin and the Argos.
Well, I think it's definitely an exciting time for the fans. We have a repeat of the Grey Cup, and then we get to see Kent come back for our next home game. So as far as the scheduling in the first couple weeks, it's pretty good. The tough part is those 3 games in 9 days that we have to do all on the road. So there's some good points of the schedule, there's some bad points, but everybody has that in their schedule.
Danny, no pun intended, start the season well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, the best matchup of the CFL's first week is Friday's game at BC Place between the Lions and Baltimore, a true rematch of the '94 Grey Cup game, same 2 teams in the same stadium. Baltimore's Jim Speros owns the team that enters the season as the clear favorite in the U.S. and probably is the Grey Cup favorite as well. Jim, from all accounts, the team on the field does look even better than last year. The money in the bank from season ticket subscribers isn't as great. Let's take them one at a time. Is there any reason why your team shouldn't be better than it was a year ago?
Well, Coach Matthews has made some improvements here in this training camp session that we just completed at Towson State University. We have about 11 new faces on the team this year, but I guess that's good news because we've upgraded the football team. Our defense has played extremely well during the preseason. But again, the preseason's behind us. Now the games start counting, and we're going to have our hands full when we get out to Vancouver here this weekend.
But you have to love this playoff format, which basically gives the winner of the Southern Division a real shot at a Grey Cup berth. You should be the favorite, don't you think?
Well, I do believe we'll be the favorites, but I also, it's a long season, and you got to hope that you keep your people healthy. But I'll say this, is that we have a very good football team. We have a very good coaching staff. And when we line up, whether we're playing teams in the Southern Division or the Northern Division, we expect to win.
What about the business you're doing or not doing? Is it not as good as it was last year? Has the novelty worn off? And if so, what do you do to get it back?
Well, I'll tell you what, the business community has stepped up for us this year. We've increased our corporate sponsorship dollars. We're further ahead at this point than we were last year. Last year, we had 41 corporate sponsors. We have 62 corporate sponsors this year. So our corporate sponsorship dollars would be up. Our season tickets are about 20% less than they were last year, and I really don't have a good explanation for that, except for the fact that unless you sell out, people know the day of the game they can walk up and get a ticket. I believe we're going to have great crowds this year. I believe we're going to lead the league in attendance again for our second year.
Do you think Cal Ripken might take some of the headlines, maybe some of the sports attention away from you?
Well, we don't have a long enough history in Baltimore here with our football organization to really know how the baseball strike affected us last year. But there's enough people in this town, and there's enough money in this town where people can see the Orioles play and watch our football team. We never go head-to-head with the Baltimore Orioles, so we'll never have a night where us fans got to make a choice.
And what about the continuing talk, whether it's from Cincinnati or elsewhere, that the NFL is going to come back to Baltimore one of these days, whenever that might be?
Well, we have a new administration in. Governor Paris Glendening is the governor now. John Moog is the chairman of the Stadium Authority here in Maryland. They've been in office now about 5 months. We've had meetings with them. We believe we're going to be the only professional football team in the state of Maryland for a long time to come. The state gave us over $2 million this year for renovations of Memorial Stadium, and Mike Brown and the Bengals would have to come through Memorial Stadium. We do have the rights to scheduling here. They've made no contact with us. Again, Baltimore, I believe, is being used by a city to try to get what they want, and I believe by tomorrow the Cincinnati thing will be put to bed. I believe Cincinnati will have a one-year extension, and they will get what they want, just like Tampa Bay Buccaneers got what they wanted, and just like some of these other teams like New England. Baltimore has been used over the years by about 11 different teams.
As this league continues to grow, Jim, it's obvious that fans in every city can't see every team. Your fans won't see Doug Flutie this year. Is that just one of those things, or is it one of those things that bothers you?
Well, again, we would love for the Calgary Stampeders to come in because I think it's good for our league. I mean, to market the league successfully in the United States, you got to have a guy like Doug Flutie coming through major markets. Unfortunately, that didn't happen with the scheduling this year. And Doug Flutie is originally from Baltimore, so our fans would have loved to see Calgary here this year, but it's not going to happen.
You like the idea of opening where you almost won it a year ago against those same BC Lions?
Well, again, I don't mind that. I know our team is ready to go. We're ready to go out there and play good football. Certainly, if you can't get up for this game, you might as well just not be playing football. So our team is excited. It's been a long off-season to think about it. I would have much rather had the game here, but we're willing to go out there and play the BC Lions this weekend.
We'll watch with interest Friday on TSN. Jim, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
New teams, a new playoff format, just a couple of changes that TSN football analyst Leif Pettersen has to study so he can talk about them, and when we come back, he'll do just that. Leif Pettersen preparing for tonight's season opener in Ottawa. Analyzing the CFL in 1995 is a bit different than before, simply because the East and West divisions have been scrapped and the teams regrouped North and South. The fifth of 5 playoff teams from the North, or Canada, will compete in the other division when the playoffs start. And it's hard to tell what that will mean, but that is for later. Right now, as the season is about to begin on TSN from Ottawa, we go there to speak with Leif Pettersen. Leif, it is usually a safe bet in June to pick Calgary, not always in November. What about this June?
Well, Dave, you know, it's really funny this year. All the Canadian teams seem to have lost so many players deciding through free agency to go to the new expansion teams or other places, and Calgary is no exception. You know, you look at the wide receivers, they've lost Will Moore and Brian Wiggins. They've lost Junior Thurman a corner, so they have a lot of holes to fill, although I still think that they would be the early season favorite in the Northern Division.
And they have 7 other teams to worry about in the North. Now all the Canadian teams, BC, Winnipeg, Edmonton, normally would be the challengers for Calgary. Do you include all of those 3?
Well, I would say so. They seem to be the teams that are the strongest as we enter the season. You look at Ottawa, and in a few minutes we're going to broadcast their first game of the season. They've got 27 new players on their roster, so not only difficult for us to figure out who's playing tonight, but I think they're going to struggle early on until they get the right mesh. And you know, I think the Toronto Argonauts are going to be much improved with Ken Austin and Fairholm. And offensively, I don't think they have a lot of worries. Defense, I'm sure, will keep Dennis Meyer awake some nights. But, you know, the logical BC, Winnipegs, and the Edmontons would be the teams that I think will challenge Calgary.
And in the South or the United States, is it Baltimore and the rest?
Well, Baltimore certainly, as we begin the season, would be the class of the league. I see no reason why they won't be as good or better than they were a year ago. I like the acquisition of Carlos Huerta, the kicker. He will really stabilize that department for them. They'll be a good, solid team. But I think San Antonio is going to be better. You know, Kay Stevenson and I have had a bit of a running battle ever since he came into the league. And I've always said that, you know, they'll go as far as Kay will let them. So if he seems to improve his coaching abilities and really adapts to the Canadian game, if that's possible, I think San Antonio's got some pretty solid personnel too.
A lot of people know that Damon Allen is in Memphis and Matt Dunnigan is in Birmingham, but they don't know very much else about those two teams. How solid are they beyond quarterback, assuming those two guys are healthy?
Well, I think the obvious in Memphis, you'd have to look to Rodney Harding and Tim Caulfield, who came as free agents to anchor their defensive line. I, as a matter of fact, watched a little film on Memphis yesterday, and they looked really solid when they beat Ottawa in the last preseason game. And I must say, Damon Allen never looked better. And throw in Eddie Brown into that mix, and I think Memphis, at least on paper, certainly looks as though they're going to be competitive to start the season. Birmingham, a little different story. Not quite as many high-profile free agents have gone to them, but you know, if you have a Matt Dunnigan and he can stay healthy, John Jenkins, who was with the Bombers last year as a coach, is now the offensive coordinator for Jack Pardee. He will bring a wealth of experience to that team, and as I say, if Dunnigan is healthy, they always have a chance to be competitive.
Are the question marks big or small in the places that Allen and Dunnigan left, i.e. Edmonton and Winnipeg?
Well, I think there are a lot of question marks in Edmonton. You know, Kerwin Bell, I mean, the league has shuffled the deck completely with players. He was in Sacramento last year, and he will start at quarterback for Edmonton. And, you know, who knows? Can he be a starting quarterback for 18 games? Can he stay healthy for 18 games? And how do you replace the explosiveness of Eddie Brown at slot back? So, yes, Edmonton has a number of question marks. And I don't think it's as bad in Winnipeg. You know, Sammy Garza will start tonight at quarterback for them. And I think he's a really good quarterback, and as always with everybody, can he stay healthy and can he guide a team in really his first full season as a #1 quarterback? He's been there for 7 years, but has never really had the pressure or the responsibility. But I think he's a good quarterback, and I don't think the situation is nearly as critical in Winnipeg as it might be in Edmonton.
You know, Leaf, we haven't mentioned Shreveport, and Bernie and Lonnie might be watching.
Well, do we have to mention Shreveport?
I just did.
Okay, well, you know, Bernie and Lonnie Gleiberman, they seem to stick around year from year, and Forrest Gregg gets his first shot to be the head coach for the whole season. Billy Joe Tolliver, remember him, Dave? Well, he's going to be the quarterback. I do know one thing about Shreveport that I think every team in the league would be envious and love to have, and that's their 2 starting wide receivers. Curtis Mayfield came over from Las Vegas in the dispersal draft, and he is an exciting, dynamic receiver. And Rod Harris was a free agent with Sacramento, and he came over. So their 2 wide receivers, starting wide receivers, are as good or better than anyone else's in the league.
We keep these shows on videotape, you know, so I'm going to pick BC and Baltimore to play in the Grey Cup again.
Well, you know, the way this unique playoff format may work, there will be a wild card from the Northern Division going down to play against the U.S. teams in the playoffs. So I'm going to go with Calgary, and Saskatchewan's going to go down and win is the wild card in the South, and it's going to be a Calgary-Saskatchewan Grey Cup in Regina.
Oh, you must have part of a hotel there or something.
I've got the only hotel there.
For all the people that would flock to see that matchup, they'll flock to see anybody in the Grey Cup, so we gather. Have a good game tonight.
Thanks very much, Dave.
I'll be right back now with the last word after this.
TSN Inside Sports is brought to you by Coors Light, the Silver Bullet. You know the right beer now. And by The Keg, where good friends get together to enjoy great steaks and share some fun.
I made a pact with myself that I wouldn't say the name Colts when I talked to Jim Speros, because the question is always the same, and so is the answer. Baltimore doesn't have a name, and it can't use Colts, and that seems to be that. But I do think the team should have a name, and I think the Baltimore Grey Cup finalists would work for this season anyway. It's hard to imagine that Baltimore doesn't have a virtual bye to the Grey Cup game already. I can't see it being bothered by any other U.S. team or by the 5th-place team from Canada. The CFL can only hope that it's not that way, because an easy trip for Baltimore and a dogfight among the best in Canada wouldn't be good, but it could be worse. Baltimore could look like any other U.S. team, and all the Canadian teams would be fighting to finish 5th so they could drop down south for the playoffs. New season, new teams, new ways to examine the Canadian Football League. That is the last word for tonight. Your words on this show can be sent to us if you wish. We'd like to hear them and read them. You can send them to us to Suite 100, 2225 Shepherd Avenue East in Willowdale, Ontario, or fax them to us by dialing 1-800-563-0845. I'm Dave Hodge. Thanks for watching us on TSN Inside Sports.